Escaped lunatic returns. One day, one of the lunatics escaped from the asylum and could not be traced. The superintendent, Dr. Abdul Majid, was very much perturbed. At that time, Baba Tajudeen approached him and said, "Don't worry, he would return of his own accord tomorrow." Next day, the madman was found standing near the gate of the asylum and was taken in by the attendants. When Dr. Abdul Majid interrogated him about his whereabouts, the madman replied that after leaving the asylum he wandered a while, and when he was going to Dr. Abdul Majid's house, he met Tajudeen Baba, who brought him to the gate of the asylum and left him there and went in. While he was waiting there, the gods took him in. What is more surprising about this incident is that all the while Tajudeen Baba did not stir out of his own cell. This amazing incident only reinforced the doctor's faith in the Baba's miraculous powers. Baba saves doctor's life. For a particular need, Dr. Abdul Majid, as usual, sought Tajudeen Baba's permission to go to Bombay on some personal business. The Baba, however, kept quiet, but the doctor repeated his question thrice. As though in annoyance, Tajudeen Baba said, "If you don't want to heed my warning, you may go, but keep this leaf with you." He handed him a small leaf which he picked up from the ground. The doctor kept it in his pocket and left for Bombay. On his journey, he got down in the Bhusawal railway yard and suddenly an engine rushed towards him. Everyone thought the doctor was killed as there was no escape. But in that moment of awful fright, Dr. Abdul Majid fell down on the track unconscious. Strangely enough, the engine came to a sudden halt in the nick of the time. The fireman and the driver got down to find out the cause of the sudden halt because the engine was not pulled by any one of them. However, how did it come to a perfect standstill of its own accord? They were wonder-struck to see this highly amazing incident and took the doctor for a saint with miraculous powers and praised him for stopping the engine in a most impossible manner. This glaring incident was witnessed by all people at the station. The doctor, however, revealed that it was the miracle of the leaf in his pocket and told them of Tajudeen Baba's warnings. The case of Bombay Seth. Besides his own personal experiences, Dr. Abdul Majid also witnessed numerous other miracles experienced by a large number of people who came to seek Baba's blessings from far and near, even at the asylum. For instance, he once saw a rich Seth who came to Baba Tajudeen to seek his blessing for his father, who was dangerously ill in Bombay and whom all the best doctors had failed to cure. Before he had even a chance to relate his predicament, the Baba spoke out, go back, your father is well." But the Seth could hardly believe it and thought it might be just a way of dismissing him. He immediately wired home an inquiry and got a telegraphic reply saying that his father was really all right. The Seth fell at the feet of the saint in solemn gratitude and distributed alms to the poor. Dr. K.G. Paunaskar's case. Dr. Abdul Majid was not only the only doctor who had witnessed Baba Tajudeen's miracles. The manner in which Dr. K.G. Paunaskar became a staunch devotee of Baba is still more wonderful. Dr. Paunaskar was originally practicing in Patna and longed to secure a good job. Once, when he was on his way to river Ganga for a dip, a brahmachari Baba attracted him by his very glowing countenance. After a little conversation with him, Dr. Paunaskar pleaded for his blessing and promised him that if he got a good job, he would take him on a pilgrimage. Not long after, he did get his posting as medical officer at Nagapur. He immediately fulfilled his promise with the Brahmachari Baba and promptly took him on a pilgrimage. The Baba was awfully pleased to hear from Dr. Paunaskar that he was posted in Nagpur, and after finishing with the pilgrimage, he also proceeded to Nagpur along with the doctor. When they reached Nagpur, the Brahmachari Baba led Dr. Paunaskar straight to the gate of the lunatic asylum and standing there called out loudly, "Oh, brother Tajudeen, here is our boy. I hand him over to you. Please take care of him." And so saying, the Brahmachari Baba suddenly disappeared, leaving the onlookers dumbfounded in utter amazement. It is interesting to note that Tajudeen Baba, who was at that moment sitting under a tree inside the asylum, was heard responding to the call of the Brahmachari Baba. Yes, he is our family. Where else can he go? Dr. Paunaskar was overwhelmingly surprised not only by this incident of the mystical dialogue between the two saints, but he was also amazed, especially when he came to know later that they were complete strangers to each other. After some time, Tajudeen Baba told Dr. Paunaskar that he must go to Sakori and meet Upasani Maharaj there. When he went to Sakori, he did find that Tajudeen Baba's guidance and advice were quite correct. Thus, in the life of Dr. Paunaskar, we see how three different great saints, with the Pir Sahib of Patna, in the garb of Brahmachari Baba, Tajudeen Baba and Upasani Maharaj worked together in making Dr. Paunaskar advanced spiritually. Their religious labels made no difference whatsoever in their spiritual careers. Dr. Kasinath Rao's case. After Dr. Abdul Majid's retirement, Dr. Kasinath Rao became superintendent of the lunatic asylum at Nagpur. Though he was a Hindu and an orthodox Brahmin, he also became a staunch devotee of Tajudeen Baba. One instance of his miraculous experience is most interesting to mention. Once Dr. Kasinath Rao was sitting in his room all alone. Suddenly he found Tajudeen Baba also seated before him. He was simply frightened and highly amazed at this mysterious phenomenon because he knew pretty well that at that moment Baba Tajudeen was locked up in his cell in the asylum. He had not recovered from his bewilderment yet when a strange voice was heard through the wall of the room greeting in the Islamic way, "Assalamu alaikum, Baba Tajudeen." And Tajudeen Baba immediately responded saying, "Walaikum assalam." And instantly a part of the plaster of the wall fell down, revealing a hand with all the 5 outstretched fingers. The Muslims call it a panja. Baba Tajudeen approached it and joined his hand with it. As the doctor was dumbly looking on the whole episode in utter amazement, the hand vanished and with it Tajudeen Baba also disappeared. Immediately Dr. Kasinath Rao ran to Baba Tajudeen's cell to see what was happening there and found the saint locked up in his cell. He was busy with his prayer at that time. Thus, not a day passed without even the doctors who studied modern science being made to witness Baba Tajudeen's miracles, and no wonder that they all accepted him as their protector and benefactor. A paralytic cured. There is no end to Baba Tajudeen's marvelous miracles. Once, an old man of Nagpur came to the Baba with his mother-in-law. One of his hands was badly paralyzed. When he came to the asylum, he met a pilgrim from Mecca who was sitting under a margosa, neem tree. The old man inquired of this Haji as to why he came there from such a long distance. The Haji replied, "I am called here by Tajudeen Baba Sahib, who spent 21 days with me in Mecca and who had invited me here. Dr. Kasinath Rao, who was also there, was astonished to hear this because Tajudeen Baba had been confined in the asylum for many years past and there was no chance for him to escape and go to Mecca. The bewildered doctor was moved to tears and fell down at the feet of the saint in solemn adoration. The great saint then said, "Don't praise me much by announcing this to public." The Baba then held the withered hand of the old man and said, "Oh, it's a foul disease." The patient felt that in the grip of the Baba his hand got warmer. Finally, when he shook it once and released it, the old man's hand was quite all right. The saint then ordered him to go on a pilgrimage to Makkah in gratitude to Allah for the cure. Dying daughter recovered. One day, a gentleman came to Tajudeen Baba and prostrated before him, petitioned, "Great Master, my daughter is in her last moments. Pray grant her life." The Baba gazed calmly at the visitor's face for a moment, closed his eyes, and was in trance for a while. When he opened his eyes, he said, "Go home. The danger has passed. She is all right now." When this gentleman reached home, he found his daughter sitting and eating something. Overflowing with gratitude for the mercy of God and his beloved Saint Baba Tajudeen, he asked his wife as to how the girl recovered so completely in such a short time. She told him that after he left for the lunatic asylum, a fakir appeared at the doorstep and, finding her in tears, enquired of the cause of grief. When he heard of the precarious condition of the child, he said, "Inshallah, now she will recover in no time." As soon as the fakir left, the child sat up and asked for something to eat. Disappearance from photo picture. Once, a batch of students from the Muslim University of Aligarh came to pay homage to Baba Tajudeen and photographed themselves with him in the group. But they were highly surprised to see that, while all the students in the group came off nicely in the picture, Baba Tajudeen's image was not there. Presentations. Such miracles were countless. Every day, crowds of devotees and visitors queued up at the asylum to have Baba Tajudeen's darshan and receive his infallible blessings. They offered him new clothes, fruits, sweets, beedis, and stuff. But he only touched and returned them or gave them away to anyone he pleased in the crowd. The strange powers of the saint had won the doctors and all the authorities of the asylum so much that they were soon obliged to permit him to enjoy special treatment. They offered to exempt him from all manual work which the other inmates had to perform compulsorily, and later they left even his cell unlocked. But Tajudeen Baba insisted on his being treated on equal footing with the rest of the inmates and did all the work and always insisted upon being locked up in his cell. Government's greed. While such was the attitude of the medical officers in charge of the asylum, the government took a greedy view of things. It now decided to levy a fee on those who wished to see this miraculous soul at the asylum, despite the fact many of the visitors were Englishmen who sought Baba's succor for their own cherished wishes. British devotees. To mention a few of the British devotees of Baba Tajudeen, Mr. Anthony MacDonald, the Chief Commissioner of Nagapur, and Colonel Rowe, the civil surgeon, were among the best admirers and devotees of the saint. There were other dignitaries of the rank of Extra Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Hafiz Vilayatullah Khan, and the city superintendent of police, Mr. Moti, who were devotees of Hazrat Baba. Even Maharaja Raghoji Rao Bhonsle of Nagpur was one of the staunch devotees of the Baba. He was one of the very frequent visitors to the asylum also. All these big people of Nagapur sought Baba's blessings to solve their problems, private and worldly. Strangely enough, while so many high officials came to the asylum for Baba Tajudeen's darshan and blessings, it never occurred to them that a lunatic asylum was not the fit place for a truly great saint like Baba Tajudeen. Maharaja of Nagpur's munificence. It was, however, Maharaja Raghoji Rao who first got the idea of taking out Baba Tajudeen from the asylum. With the consent of the saint, he paid a sum of 2000 rupees as security to the asylum authorities and took the Baba to his own palace in 1908. He thus ended the 16-year-long stay of the Baba in the Pagal Khana asylum to the delight of thousands of his devotees and admirers. The Maharaja put his palatial building with Lal Koti at Sakardara completely at the disposal of the saint. And not only this, but he also provided a buggy, a carriage drawn by horses, servants and pahalwans, wrestlers for the service of the Baba. Very often, Maharaja Raghoji Rao himself used to attend on him. But this king of kings, while staying at Sakardara, followed a particular routine of his own sophistic way of life freely. Baba's life at Lal Koti. At Lal Koti, for most of the time, the Baba remained in a state of trance. He woke up early and left the palace for his usual strolls and returned sometimes as late as 2 p.m. or even in the evening. People flocked around him from far and near with garlands, sweets, costly new clothes, and various other gifts. Every day was a festive day. Many shops sprang up along Baba's way. Songsters, musicians, and artists displayed their skill before him and received fulsome rewards. The devotees followed him wherever he went, even to the neighboring jungles where he loved to wander about. When hundreds of the devotees offered him food in plates, he would taste a little from only one of the plates to please the devotees. All the rest was distributed, especially among the poor and the orphans. Hazrat Tajudeen Baba wore only one long tunic or shirt all the time. Dr. Abdul Majid Khan was the greatest devotee of the Baba. Dr. Kasinath Rao actually worshipped him as if he was a Hindu deity. He put flowers on his head, applied sandal paste to his forehead, and performed such other rituals to which Baba Tajudeen never objected. Baba leaves the palace and goes to Waki. It must be mentioned here that Fakir Tajudeen Baba's stay in the palace of the prince was a most unwilling condescension on his part. This was tolerated by the saint only because of the persistent appeals of Maharaja Raghoji Rao. But in spite of all the comforts of the place, he always slept on the floor. When he walked out, even in the burning heat of summer, he went without shoes. In fact, this gilded home was also a prison for Baba Tajudeen. He preferred to be a humble fakir and loved wandering in the jungles of Nagpur. One day, he left the palace as usual and walked straight to Waki, a suburb of Nagpur 16 miles from the city, and stayed there with one Patel Kasinath Rao who welcomed him and served him well. The people of Waki saw him walking barefooted and remained exposed to rain, sun, and cold. If his shirt was drenched in the rain, it dried on his body only. Here too, as at Sakardara, many miracles took place. Here he named a mango tree as his hospital and directed all who sought his help in curing ailments to sit under it and use that earth as medicine, and they were unfailingly cured. He named another spot as Mask. Spiritual aspirants were asked to stay there and perform mujahidas. Many performed penance in this mosque, and the most famous among them was Meher Baba, the Parsi seer of Ahmednagar, and Upasani Maharaj, the great saint and disciple of Sri Sai Baba of Shirdi. Similarly, those who craved for justice in litigation, etc., were directed to assemble at another spot which he called the Court of Justice. There was a school also where students craving for distinction in examinations were asked to stay.